The prosperity gospel is a scam. The prosperity gospel promises heaven in the form of health, wealth, and worldly success. It dresses itself up as the good news of God's favor, but its message is nothing more than the ego's favorite bait: give to get. Give your money, your loyalty, your energy, and in return you are promised blessings, breakthroughs, and financial harvests. But what kind of God is this who must be bribed into generosity? The Course in Miracles says plainly, "This is not the gospel I intended to offer you. The gospel is not a transaction. It is not a bargain struck with heaven. It is a message of love. Love needs no payment, no exchange, no seed sown to be unlocked. It simply is." The prosperity gospel teaches faith as a spiritual force to bring material results. Name it and claim it. Declare it with your mouth until your house, your car, or your bank account matches your vision board. But this turns faith into magic. Faith is not a lever to pull on the universe. Faith is allegiance to truth. And truth has nothing to do with the illusion of possessions. God did not create wealth. God did not create bodies to keep wealth safe or healthy. God created only spirit, and spirit lacks nothing. The Course says you are already as rich and limitless as heaven itself. So how could more coins in your pocket prove the love of God? Prosperity preachers also claim illness and poverty are curses. If you are sick, it must be a lack of faith. If you are poor, you must be under a curse. But think about the cruelty of such a claim. It blames the victim for their pain. It assumes God's love is withheld because a human being didn't measure up. But God does not curse. Only the ego invents curses. Only the ego turns life into a rigged casino where faith is reduced to rolling dice and pulling levers. Critics of the prosperity gospel say it distorts religion into a transaction, that it teaches people to chase after blessings rather than truth, that it reduces faith to superstition, and that it divides believers against believers. Those who prosper are praised as faithful, and those who suffer are condemned as unbelieving. But the deeper problem is not merely hypocrisy or bad theology. The deeper problem is that it teaches God's children to keep looking outside of themselves. Give more money, speak more words, believe harder. And maybe then you'll get what God supposedly withheld. But the Course says, the only meaningful prayer is forgiveness. Forgiveness recognizes you already have everything. Nothing is missing. No gift must be unlocked. No blessing is being withheld. Forgiveness ends the entire game of bargaining with God. It shows that wealth and health in form are just shifting shadows. They come and go. They never last. They are not who you are. You are happiness itself, not happiness gained, not happiness purchased, not happiness proven by bank accounts or bodies. You are happiness. And this is why the prosperity gospel is a scam. Because it tells you that what you already are is something you must buy. It reduces God to a slot machine and faith to a wager. And in the process, it distracts from the only real gospel, the message of love. Love that has no opposite. Love that demands no payment. Love that cannot be lost or increased because it is already total. The prosperity gospel keeps people busy counting coins while heaven is waiting to be remembered. The Course reminds us it is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. This is the only true prosperity, to extend what is already given, to recognize that abundance is not measured in possessions, but in peace. Health and wealth will pass, the body will pass, but what you are remains untouched, and that is the good news. The prosperity gospel says, sow your seed to reap your blessing. The real gospel says, you are the blessing. The prosperity gospel says, God will give if you give first. The real gospel says, God has already given everything. The prosperity gospel says, happiness will come when you have enough. The real gospel says, happiness is what you are. And once you see the difference, the scam falls apart. No slot machine can promise what heaven has already placed within you. No preacher can sell what God gave freely. No prosperity formula can add to perfection. And that is why the only true gospel is love. Nothing else will do. Picture, if you will, a congregation promised heaven for the price of admission. A gospel reduced to a lottery ticket, faith mistaken for currency, and God himself cast as the house in a rigged casino. But in this theater of illusions, the payout never comes, because what was promised was never real, and what was real was never missing. Step away from the slot machine, and you may notice the truth waiting quietly in the corner. Not bought, not sold, not borrowed, not earned. Only remembered. For in the final accounting, the richest treasure is not measured in coins or cures, but in the love that cannot be lost. And that, dear friends, is no gamble at all.